This is Reality Dispatch, written by Mment.
I think I lost it yesterday. By that, I mean yesterday is the last thing I remember. I was with my wife, and then when I woke up yesterday morning, she was gone. All that is left are these Polaroids we took together, although when I look at them, she's the only one in them. So I guess, perhaps I took them. The expression on her face, it's like she didn't know or wasn't aware. David sat in his 4-day-old suit, opposite the stranger in the motel cafe, just off the freeway. He smelled like cheap bourbon and stale cigarettes. He hadn't slept, although he didn't know it. He didn't realize how much time had truly passed. His memories were frozen. "I'm sorry, have we met?" he asked. The stranger nodded. "I'm sure we've met many times before, right?" The stranger nodded again. "It's scary. I've just lost the last 48 hours of my life. It makes me worried about tomorrow, then the next day, and the day after that. You know, I suppose you don't." The stranger raised his hand to get the waiter's attention. He pulled a Polaroid from his pants pocket and placed it on the table in front of David. "What's this?" David asked. The stranger said nothing, but held up the menu for the approaching waiter and pointed to the entry in the breakfast list, a plate of pancakes. "That all, hon?" the waiter asked. The stranger nodded. "Anything for you?" the waiter asked David. "Just the coffee," David said, holding up his mug. "A refill?" "Yes, please." As the waiter left, David mulled over the image. "Who is this?" he asked the stranger, who sat back and began cracking his knuckles. "You don't say much, do you?" David asked. The stranger leaned forward, raised a finger to his throat, and pointed at his Adam's apple. Then he mimed a shot being fired from his fingertips. "You can't talk?" David asked. The stranger aimed his finger and acted out a shot fired at David with a wink. The answer was correct. "Oh, I'm sorry," David said, just as the waiter arrived with the refill. The stranger pointed at the Polaroid again, drawing David's attention to it. The image showed a man behind the grill of a large kitchen, cooking patties of beef and eggs. He looked as if he'd been caught unaware by the camera. The stranger pointed at the man in the image and then raised a finger to his neck once more. This time he mimed slicing his throat with a knife. "You want this man dead?" David asked. The stranger nodded, then pointed at David. "You want me to kill him?" Another slow, certain nod. No ambiguity. The waiter returned and placed the stack of pancakes on the table. "Why?" David asked. The stranger waited until the waiter had walked away before attempting an answer. He took a deep breath, thinking about how best to convey the message. He raised his trusty finger again and pointed to his own temple. Then he moved it toward David's head and lowered it to tap the image in the Polaroid. "This man," David began. The stranger leaned forward. "Made me lose my memory?" The stranger nodded. "This was yesterday?" David asked. Another nod. "Where is he?" David shouted, standing in anger. "I won't remember any more days with my wife because of this son of a bitch. Tell me where he is." He looked down to the man, half ready to grab him by the collar. The stranger simply pointed toward the kitchen, behind the counter of the motel cafe. "Back there?" David demanded. The stranger nodded. David stormed off, fists clenched and ready for violence. The man began eating his pancakes as fast as he could, hoping to leave before the bloodshed started. When half the stack was gone, the sound of clattering pots and pans echoed through the cafe. Patrons stood from their seats, eager to know what was causing the ruckus. The stranger wiped his mouth with a handkerchief and exited the diner, leaving the bill unpaid. He returned to his convertible in the neighboring lot and removed a docked cell phone from its port. He dialed a number and waited for the ringing to connect. "This is Walden," came the voice on the other end. "It's done," said the stranger. "All right, that makes 3, Walden said with relief. "Kimmy's in the joint. That one will be harder to get," the stranger replied. "You'll think of something." "That's why we pay you what we pay you," Walden said as the line went dead. 4 years later, David was escorted from his cell to the visitation wing, an area he barely recognized. In fact, every day he woke up in prison, he had to be reminded why he was there. He approached the glass partition, where a well-dressed man sat with folded arms. David sat opposite and picked up the receiver. The stranger did not pick up the adjacent phone. Instead, he pointed at his throat and shook his head. "You can't talk," David mouthed. The stranger nodded. He reached into his pants pocket and pulled out a square photo, holding it up to the glass. David studied the image, a mugshot taken at a police station, numbers scrawled beneath the subject. "Who is this?" David asked, confused. The stranger raised his finger, pointed to his temple, and mimed firing a gun. "You want me to kill this person?" David asked. The stranger nodded. "Who is he? Who are you?" "I don't understand," David said, panic rising in his voice. The stranger pointed at the photo, then tapped his temple again, this time circling his finger before pointing forcefully at David's head. David stared at him intently. "Did this man take my mind?" he asked. The stranger couldn't understand him from lip reading. Frustrated, he finally picked up the receiver. David repeated the question. "Did this man fuck up my mind?" The stranger nodded. David stood up, fists clenched and teeth gritted. "Sit down, Sinclair," a guard shouted from the rear. The stranger began to smile.
For more stories of fact-based fiction, head to jimmins.substack.com.